Hey guys, VaulSC here, going to have a look at a very special bat rep today between PanO and YuJing, the classic matchup, although this time it will be me with PanO and my opponent with YuJing. Normally the other way around, but we're going to be playing this particular matchup today, and the mission is going to be Power Pack, so it's the weird one where your deployment zone is to split into two different boxes on either corner of your own deployment zone side. This one's special because I've just gone out and bought a new cutter tag. So there's basically the big tag with TO camo, the only tag to have that particular. Actually, no, it's not. There's also a Sphinx. So okay, not the only tag to have that ability, but he's the only tag that has the old ballistic skill 15, multi HMG, armor 8, 3 structure points, and TO camo. He's really weak on the short-range defense, doesn't really have any flamethrower or close combat weapons or anything, but he's cool. And even though the model's not one of the new era of CB sculpts, he's one of the better-looking models in the game, in my opinion. So we're going to launch straight into it. This is my buddy Garth having set up the table here, and I've just taken a bit of a pot-shot overview of it. I'm just going to sort of draw out what's going on here. So if you guys aren't familiar with Power Pack, here's how things kind of go. For this game, PanO is going to be on this side of the table. YuJing is going to be on this side of the table. I might even adjust my cam a little bit more. Now, these middle consoles, what you've got to do is basically end the game with more of them button pressed, so you've actually got to capture more of them by the end of the game to get, I think, a whopping 4 points or something like that. If you're on this side, the YuJing, you're going to be trying to get your data tracker in base to base with this one by the end of the game, the console on your opponent's side. PanO player going to be trying to protect this while grabbing this one with their data tracker. So that's the gist of it. There's one classified apiece. So yeah, just typical really cool terrain. My opponent's Garth has been spending a little bit of time painting things up and sprucing things up a little bit, so I really appreciate that. The winter installation, as you can see. So we'll get into it. He's won the dice roll for first turn, a very important roll because going second tends to be a bit better. Although I do like this mission for the fact that you can go first and actually still have a really good shot at it. In fact, sometimes going first can be better because it can be easier to defend the 3 objectives in the middle after you've done a lot of attacking, and it's sort of predictable, you know which way your opponent's going to be coming from. And you can sort of set up real well for that end turn. Having said that, going second is probably still the best solution because of this really annoying saturation zone through the middle of the table. Your -1 burst through any shots through that middle strip, and it can make alpha striking his first turn really annoying. Having said that, ARO pieces, especially snipers, are extremely good with saturation zones, and the cutter, armor 8, TO camo, and a multi-HMG firing that explosive round reactively is just absolutely gold in saturation zones, so really keen to try that out. Okay, so YuJing, this is vanilla YuJing versus vanilla PanO, by the way. This is the right-hand side corner, so you've got a 16-inch deep, 12-inch wide block to deploy your troops in on either corner. So this is the extreme right-hand side for him. He's got this guy, which is a pheasant with a Red Fury, a chain of command, a little Quangshi here, and a Shaolin Monk, all the chain rifles, of course, where other Quangshi over this side, and another one out back, so that's, 3 Quangshis on this side. He's got his other Quangshi back on the other corner. This is just your humble Flash Pulse bot, so that's what's making up the composition for this side. Left-hand side, though, he's got Major Luna hanging out, and you can see that her base is just touching the edge of the wall. That's intentional. She's prone, so she's higher up than everything else. She can see across the battlefield. Next to her is the old Celestial Guard with Quangshi Control Device Launcher and Smoke Grenade. There's the other Quangshi behind them. This is a Sensor Bot with obviously a specialist ability. The other Shaolin Monk back here. He's going to be putting down his Crane rank. Dude with multi-rifle in this spot. We'll see in a future photo. Up the field a little bit, we've got a Krakot with 2 submachine guns. He's actually borrowing my Krakot from my model collection. So you'll see 2 of my Krakots in the battlefield, and they're going to be from opposing sides. Hopefully that doesn't become too confusing. Luckily for me, he's rolled the bioimmunity result, which isn't one of the better ones you can get for the Krakot, all things considered. This scenario allows you to deploy an HVT further than 4 inches out of sight of your deployment zone as usual, but because there's a big gap between your two big blocks, you can actually put your HVT right next to your table edge on your side, which is generally what people do and what he's done here. Here's another overview. Here I just thought I'd take a better picture of what Major Luna can actually see. So as you can see, I mean, I showed up for the game after my opponent had already laid out his table. So he's the one who's actually put the terrain down, and I like that. I mean, people play on my table so much. It's good to play on a table that somebody else has created, even if you know the side has been designed with their own ideas in mind. I don't think that's the case here. I'm not accusing him of building a table for his own troopers. If anything, it helps me more than it helps him. But I just thought I'd talk you through that. So Major Luna here can see through this objective and this objective over here. There's the other objective through the middle. She can see a lot of approaches to that and on both flanks, so she's looking really, really good there. But she can be shot from anywhere on the table too, and this guy here with Forward Observer for deployment is going to be going through this building through to my deployment zone up that side there. Okay, he has deployed a camo marker here, a mysterious camo marker, and we'll find out what's behind the camo marker later. Alright, my side, I'm running a limited insertion style list with just 10 orders, not something I do very often, but I think it's the way to go with the cutter, because if you're alpha striking with the cutter or bulleteer in my case, you could do a lot of damage and you want to have the full 10 orders available to you. So right hand side block deployment, this is a Magister Knight with just light shotgun Panzerfaust and the basic close combat weapon. This is my Krakot also with double SMG who's rolled up climbing plus and extra speed, one of my faves. This guy here is a basic Fusilier hacker, and this is a Crocman Forward Observer way up the midfield, planning on pressing some buttons later on. In the middle, I've done exactly the same as him. I've put down an HVT, although I forgot my HVT model, so my opponent has loaned me his while I'm loading him the Krakot, and you can see the Crocman way in the distance. So this is my left-hand side block deployment. You can see the NIS sniper standing up here. It's got a beautiful line right through there to where the Guangxi are going to be coming from. Although the photo doesn't show it, there's a very faint sliver all the way down here past this other building here. So we can actually see on either side of this terrain piece. Doctor prone next to him, of course, in case he goes down. Engineer prone right next to the Bulleteer in case it goes down. Bulleteer, though, planning on moving out, alpha striking through that region of the table. And my lieutenant, hopefully feeling safe back there, although PanO, pleb lieutenant, never particularly safe, is he? And reserve model, of course, is the beautiful, beautiful S7 silhouette marker representing... Who could it be? Who could it possibly be? Alright. So, first turn is Extreme Impetuous. So, you don't often see that with PanO Oceania, but I'm taking a single Magister Knight by himself. I really rate this guy, by the way. He's only 22 points. And you're paying 22 points for a model with 2 wounds and armor 3. So it can be such an annoying model in the reactive turn, right? He's got a light shotgun for people to come around the corners. You can just plap away with his arrow with that. If he's going for the engage, he's really good at passing the engage check. If he's just dodging, he's very good at that with hyperdynamics. So if he's stopping your opponent from really getting a lot done in the active turn just because he's dodging or being annoying or engaging or getting in the way, that's amazing. Also, he can hold down a particular fire lane from just small warbands coming past it because he's got a Panzerfaust. And he's really useful to combine in coordinated orders. So if you're attacking something with your cutter or your bulleteer, and he comes in as part of the coordinated order, and so does the Krakot, well, you can fire, you know, the tag with the multi-round, you could fire a shot with a bulleteer, the Krakot can weapon his submachine gun, and then you've got the Panzerfaust as well, and your opponent can only pick one target to attack back with, so he's really good in tactics like that. So just coming towards this camo marker, he's ultimately going to be moving towards the Krakot here. Now he's got stealth, so just in case there's any hackers around, they can't get him. Alright, so this is my first game with a cutter. And one thing I tell people not to do is to move out with your tag and alpha strike in the first turn because it's not really the best. But I'm doing it anyway. So I'm not really following my own advice. Good old VaulSC. Do as I say, not what I do. That's the spirit. Seriously though, what I was thinking about is the fact that Power Pack divides the enemy army in two. So you've got two halves. The cutter can't really take out every single model in the YuJing army, especially because as soon as he moves over there, there are smoke grenades going off and, you know, people dodging, and it just gets very difficult. He's down to 3 dice with a saturation anyway. If, however, the cutter can move right across there and get a few kills, he can actually move up into the high ground in my opponent's deployment zone and basically overlook the rest of it and intercept a lot of the AROs coming, sorry, the impetuous models magnetized towards his position. And it's unlikely that there'll be a ninja or anything over there, so he should be clear of it. And as he's crossing through the center, he's not going to get engaged by a ninja because he's in Marcus state. Well, hopefully anyway, provided he doesn't come out of it. There's also the possibility of me expending exactly 10 orders and destroying all 4 of the models that he's got in this corner of the table and just hiding in that corner, and everything else that would kill him is split off. In any other normal game, if you go over to their deployment zone, there should be at least something nearby which can throw a smoke grenade next to him, and they come over and engage him in close combat, and he's just basically screwed. The other point that I'm thinking about in this game is that I don't mind expending a cutter, even though he's like worth 1,000,000 points. I don't mind losing the cutter off the first turn so long as I cause enough disruption that by the end of the game my opponent's just got too few tools left to complete the objective with. This is a list that has a bulleteer in it, and my advice really to myself and to you, but more to me really because I get this wrong too much, is to attack with the bulleteer in the first turn, then follow up with the cutter later on, because the cutter is generally better at AROing and taking hits than going out and finding targets to kill because people keep avoiding him. Thing about the bulleteer, though, is that he'd actually come into some pretty harsh angles when he comes into range of the chain rifles on this table against this particular opponent. So with 6 deployment zone chain rifles and with such a awkward angle to get to them, the cutter would do a better job of just like tanking 1 or 2 chain rifles while shooting everything else than the bulleteer would. So that's ultimately why I've opted to move the cutter around. But I think you guys can pretty much guess it's just because I am excited about using my brand new model, so don't do this. Alright, so here he is here. He's moving up on top of this, the back of this truck here, and this is going to enable him to get line of sight to the enemy Krakot Renegade right here. Also, because he's going to come out of a marker state here, and everybody else can delay, if he shoots at the Krakot, Major Luna will get a free shot at him, and that will reveal Major Luna, so I don't particularly mind. After that's happened, I can then get rid of her, and that will pretty much leave my NIST sniper with a really good command of the table, for now. The only problem, though, is that I have... here's the beautiful tag here. Look at him! Look at him! So I spent quite a while highlighting the very icy blue and doing a good work on the gun, obviously decorating the base as well as I could. I've used one of these little plastic trees to pose him with. In some of the other photos, you'll see that his sort of angle, sort of leaning to one side, is quite dynamic and makes it look like he's going quite fast. But anyway, enough about the model. The tag moves in, shoots at the Krakot. Major Luna fires back at him for free, hopefully missing thanks to the Teo camo. And here's the sort of positioning. You can see here... Major Luna up top. Oh, I put my thing in the wrong place. That's Major Luna here, shooting through there. Tag shooting at the Krakot Renegade, and we've got the camo marker down here. And, wow. Here we have the camo marker, and of course, it's a Guilang assault hacker. Within range of my tag, just as he comes out of hidden deployment. So, not only does the tag not get to reset, because I've spent this first short skill moving, and the second short skill declaring an attack, and the hacker couldn't really respond until I actually, do my shot, because it can delay, basically. He gets a free attempt with total control onto my tag, a free shot with Major Luna, and all I can do is fire at the Krakot. So, I'm playing against an opponent who regularly uses a Dao Fei, and who has been known to run the old Guilang Forward Observer. He has done in the last couple of games I played him. And very rarely uses a Guilang assault hacker. Despite that, I should have just been a little bit more cautious here, rather than throwing caution to the wind and just trying to enjoy my cutter, and now I am being hacked by a rather nasty possession partway into my turn when I'm going first, and I really need to inflict a lot of damage throughout the game, otherwise it's going to be too easy for my opponent to take control of the consoles in the last turn. So this is very, very sad. What happens is that Major Luna hits the cutter despite Teo Camo, and after 2 BTS saves, I fail 1 and I take a wound. So you can see a little wound marker up here. The Krakot is shredded by the multi-HMG of the cutter, and sadly, our friendly Guilang hacker puts my beautiful tag into possessed state. No! Alright. There is some hope left, though, because this model down here is a friendly Pan-Oceania hacker, and he does have exorcism, and the tag basically is facing directly towards my opponent's deployment zone. So, using a coordinated order, this Fusilier is now moving through here. The Krakot is now moving through into the room, and the Knight is moving into range to try and get into close combat with the Guilang. Once I can achieve that, the Guilang will not really be able to hack anything because he'll have a sword up his ass. Okay. Continuing to move in with the good old Fusilier. So again, this is taking time. It's generally throwing away the Alpha Strike of this turn, but there is a bit of a silver lining here. By making this play, my opponent's now exposing a Guilang, an expensive model, capable of actually pressing buttons later in the game, which I will now be able to remove. He's obviously taken the veil off of Major Luna, and I can shoot at Major Luna as soon as I get my tag back, and I've already killed his Krakot, so hopefully I'll put him down 3 models by the end of the turn and get my tag back, but it's going to take some work. The Knight moves around the corner. The Guilang tries to defend himself with, I think, Carbonite or something like that. The Knight swings at him with the sword, Martial Arts 1, and despite the Knight being pretty good at this, fluffs it, and the Guilang hits him with the Carbonite, and luckily he's not actually failing the BTS check here. Does manage to pass, but doesn't kill him either. Importantly, I have actually tied him up in close combat. Nice photo, though. So eventually, despite the tag getting a change of facing and turning around towards my lines, we get the Fusilier just barely into 8 inches range to commit the exorcism. I think I even wasted yet another order, failing the attempt to remove him, because he rolled like a massive number on his saves. But second attempt does repossess the tag, so the cutter is back to friendly territory, and I can get him to safety. So the cutter, what he's able to do at this point is he's able to actually temporarily move up a little bit on top of the box, and then come back and fire at Major Luna. And unbelievably, I think I didn't manage to even kill her in the first go. But eventually, after some more attempts, we're getting up to the top of this building here, and finally does manage to destroy Major Luna. Also able to put a shot into this model here, which is the Celestial Guard with control device, so the cutter able to cut him down as well, and taking out Major Luna. So all in all, he's still got the Guilang, but I have removed the Krakot, I've removed Major Luna, and I've removed a Celestial Guard. The tag's taken a wound, and I've got my troops into what could be fairly compromising situations, but also, the tag's actually quite a good spot at the moment to defend. Just depends on what he's got left up his sleeve. He may have tigers and hack-taws and ninjas floating around. My Fusilier hacker attempts to crawl within range of the Guilang, who's locked in close combat, and attack him with a Brain Blast, but flubs that as well. So, yeah, a lot of things have gone wrong this turn. Some mistakes might be. I mean, this is on me. I've made the decision to run charging with the tag, and that hadn't really gone very well. I'd also been a bit unlucky with some of my rolls to try and repossess and to kill Major Luna and to kill the Guilang. So, yeah, not a very good first turn in terms of dice rolls. Decision-wise, a bit iffy, so game's not off to a brilliant start. It could have been a lot worse, though. That turn could really have been far worse. So, first turn YuJing. He is now using some impetuous stuff here. Shaolin Monk moving to throw a smoke cloud there, but I believe he actually flubs his roll for that, and it doesn't go down. These Guangxi moving across towards here, because even though there's a bullet here on this side of the table, I've now got a tag in the center of the table, and these guys are closer to it, so I'm moving around this direction to go towards the tag's location, if you guys can picture that. Now, I've got my NIST sniper in this very location for this very reason, and as the Guangxi pass his line of sight, He completely misses the shot on one of them, which is annoying because he needed a 16, but does connect with the other Guangxi and removes him, having failed both double action armor saves. So that's one Guangxi down. The tag is able to fire his multi-ammunition at the Shaolin monk here, as he tries to put a smoke grenade down here to clear a path for the the crane rank to move through. Now, the tank, I believe, completely whiffs his shot. I know he did whiff some shots. I don't know. I can't remember if he whiffed this particular shot, but it didn't go particularly well for either of us here. He does have another Guangxi right at the back, but decides to spend an order restraining him from movement just because he wants to contain and keep a few more orders going there. So this is where he tried to throw the smoke, flubs that throw. So the Celestial, the crane rank is still stuck back here. So is the Guangxi, unfortunately. All right, here's a bit of a overview. We'll just locate some things here. So we've still got the Magister Knight in combat with the Guilang here. The Krakot is still hanging out in the room. Basically, there's a window here, so he's wide open to anything that's through there. But the tag is really doing a good job blocking off this whole area of the table in terms of his line of sight. Note that there's a fairly shallow roof across this building, which you can sort of see a little bit over partially here. And he's got some impetuous troops on this side, which are wanting to move around the corner here, but they are locked down by a NIST sniper and a cutter. Not really the best thing to be running into. So he has a think for a bit and comes up with the following plan. On the other side, there's a opportunity to move through with his pheasant rank with Red Fury into such a position that he's not immediately targeted by the NIS. So quite carefully moving around until he gets to this particular obstacle and is able to come around to this spot here where he's able to draw line of fire down to where the NIS sniper is. Now, it's a Red Fury. There's a saturation zone, which is just killing both of us, whether it's our turn. So down to 3 dice, Bliss skill 12, I think he is, up against the NIS, who needs a 10. So the first round of shooting goes off. I roll a crit and a 10, so extremely lucky for me, but he rolls a crit as well. So nothing happens for this first order, and then the second order he shreds me, so still doing pretty well. His plan is to move into position here, and this wall is low enough to contain the silhouette of the Bulleteer. The Trauma Doc and the Engineer are both prone behind this wall, can't be seen. So he's just sneaking into a better position before he just rips my whole back line apart. So seeing that I've got a Lieutenant back here, just goes for the jugular, you know, just moves in the Red Fury through to here, gets line of sight across the wall. My guys can't see him. They can attempt change faces, but they're failing a lot of those anyway. And the poor old Fusilier here is just gutted. He's ripped apart by a Red Fury. And he has moved beyond the saturation zone at this point, so a lot easier for him to commit the kills. Now, angles start to get a bit awkward here. He does try to move through and get just line of sight to the Bulleteer without coming to line of sight of the Engineer and Doctor, and we find that to be possible. So he has a go at it, but at short range, up against technically cover and ODD, the Pheasant fails to actually destroy him, and after this decides to go into suppression fire rather than making another attempt at this, which I felt was a little bit of a mistake, actually. As soon as the turn ends, this guy's life is forfeit if any of my guys are left alive. So what I would have done had I been him is that I would have moved across the wall and then come back and just split my burst, 2 shots into the Engineer, 2 shots into the Doctor. And if the Bulleteer survives, that's fine. But if you kill the Engineer and the Doctor, that's another 2 orders down. No specialist for that side of the table. If the Bulleteer dies later, then it can't be revived. And you know that PanO Shaolin are going to be lost to Lieutenant next turn, so the Bulleteer is not going to be, very well fed with orders in terms of resisting this. So the Pheasant might be able to go for an engage or some maneuver to survive the reactive onslaught. But instead, he's gone into suppression fire, which I feel is a little bit of a weak move. But if you've only got 1 order left, I guess it's better than nothing. This image will show you in a little bit of a better way that the Bulleteer managed to complete a change facing at long last. He was actually shot in the back and did a change face dodge against the Pheasant's shots and still managed to survive. So luck going back and forth. I was really unlucky earlier in the game. I'm having a few little comebacks here and there. Elsewhere on the table, he repositions his crane rank just into the corner here. Just wants to avoid me moving out with my cutter and finding line of sight. The thing is, I'm going to be a loss of lieutenant, though, so one thing I can do during loss of lieutenant is to First, whack the Aguilung with the impetuous move from the Magister Knight, which happens successfully this time. Then, using the irregular order in Lost Lieutenant from the Knight to move over to this the other side of the doorway, and then cut his throat with the old sword and complete Extreme Prejudice, as you can see the card laid down here at the front of the photograph. So that's going to put me up a point. So if he doesn't get us classified, and it's very hard to complete HFTs in this mission because of where they are, I might be able to get a tiebreaker out of that. The Cutter, using his own irregular order, able to move down from the building, and as he does so, he's basically, his silhouette is coming over the wall here, and then comes down. So the silhouette of the tag is sort of sticking out of the terrain on a higher level, then coming down. And as he does so, he's able to get line of sight to the model over here, I believe, which I think was a Shaolin monk, and that's destroyed by the tag. I can't actually quite remember some of the sequence of plays in this game. I just remember the tag moving out and shooting something, and I think it was that. Elsewhere, I decided it would take too long to move the tag around because remember, I'm having to spend a command token to convert irregular orders into regular orders for every additional thing I want to do for each model in this game. So I'm trying to be conservative here. So using the irregular order on the Fusilier Hacker to put assisted fire onto the Bulletier, and the Bulletier then using its own irregular order to move around here to engage with the Pheasant. The Pheasant obviously firing at dice -9 because of cover, and ODD up against the Bulletier hitting on, I think, 9s because of just, not even cover actually, or suppression fire. Okay, so luckily the Bulletier does manage to destroy the Pheasant. It would have been really sad if I'd not managed to kill him here. I would have had to spend the remainder of my command tokens getting the Engineer in there and reviving him and having another go. And that wouldn't have even been a sure thing. If I fail the whip check, I've just got to spend more command tokens, which I don't have. So I was very lucky here, very relieved to actually pull this off and get the Bulletier to destroy the old Pheasant. Using a last command token, well, I've saved one. I'm using one more command token. The Cutter's moving back up here. And I feel like being there is just the best position he could be in because he gets some cover from things attacking from this side of the table. Once this Quan Chi moves around here, he's going to get maybe an arrow through this line. He can shoot at the crane if it decides to move into the battle and try and have some effect. And elsewhere, other things are just staying where they are because I can't really do much else. I'm also wary that it might have a Tiger Soldier somewhere coming on the side of the table. Bulletier moving up for that reason. So the Bulletier now is got assisted fire, is going to be able to cover along there if he moves around with his Quan Chi, cover through here if he comes towards the objective with anything else, and covers this little patch of land here in case that Tiger Soldier shows up. Bear in mind that the deployment zones are a bit larger because of power pack deployment rules, so he's not going to come on to the table on this side of the wall, shall we say. The Krakot just jumping through the window and standing next to this objective because I really just want to slow things down with him. Just find opportunities to use his chest mines. Okay, so my opponent now on to turn 2, and he has some impetuous moves to make. So way in the distance here, we've got an impetuous model trying to move out, and the tag able to blap him with a explosive round. I do remember failing a lot of these arrow attempts this game, but I also passed a few, and the ones that passed really did matter, you know, for obvious reasons. Elsewhere, the Bulletier is now closer, so conveniently the Quan Chi are going back the other way, this way. Initially they were going that way towards the tag, but now it's the Bulletier, so they're just moving back behind the building, which is very, very convenient. So we finally have the card that he was holding close to his chest, and that is the mysterious Tio Kamamaka on top of the building here. You can see it's quite far up into the deployment zone, but it is power pack, so it's 16 inches up. So we have a Tio Kamamaka appearing, and that model is a hack-taw HMG with executive order. So here he is up the top of the building here, and he's using his HMG to fire at the Magister Knight. The Magister Knight, this is through a saturation zone, so he's going to be less effective at this, but the Magister Knight does take a wound from this and is able to move back using a failed guts check, or religious courage, what do you want to refer to here, to pull back out of line of sight of the hack-taw. But it does allow the hack-taw to then fire at the unsuspecting Krakot and do a little bit of damage there. Does actually remove him. Next up, he can reposition himself and have a go at our friendly Bulleteer down there. Note that both models have TO camo and, will have cover after this, but the hack-taw has 3 dice, HMG -1 through the saturation. Bulleteer has assist of fire, so there's a bit of a shootout, but the hack-taw does manage to win it in the long run, and the Bulleteer is rendered unconscious as well. So, decent play there. Elsewhere, he's spending a coordinated order, and a command token, of course, to reposition his sensor bot, one of his few specialists around here, and that's going to be needed as it comes across later into the game to pick off one of these 3 objectives, and he's going to need to start pressing some buttons at the end of the game. I'm going to need to start pressing some buttons as well, because we've got nothing done apiece, and it's only me with the classified on the board at the moment, so bit of repositioning, hack-taw, Guangxi, sensor bot, all using the coordinated order. He's also moved in with his flash pulse bot as well. You can see sneakily coming up the side of the table to start flashing at me if I go for this objective down here. And the Bulleteer, of course, is dead, so can't provide an ARO in return. The hack-taw on the top of the building goes back into TO camo's state. A wise move if you're worried about something going wrong. For the life of me, I can't think of anything that would actually go up there and attack him from my side of the table, but it does allow him to use surprise attack when he does next strike. Okay, so it is the final YuJing turn. He's deliberately set up a Guangxi here, and this is a Guangxi that did survive a return shot from the tag. The tag didn't destroy him with the explosive round, so unfortunately my Magister Knight, who is the data tracker by the way, moves into line of sight. Now, my plan here is to try and take the 3 objectives in the middle and basically forfeit the console on his side of the table and try to defend my console and win by 4 points. That's my plan, because I can't really hope to achieve much more than that. So the plan here is just to dodge with the Magister Knight and use him as an annoying ARO to get in the way if he suddenly reveals a ninja or something like that and comes after my middle objectives. So the Guangxi drops down a chain rifle template. We go with the hyperdynamics from the Magister, manage to dodge that and come out alive. The tag and the Crocman and the hacker all utilizing a coordinated move. The tag's using it to come down from the building and pull back around here. He's going to use a second short skill later to come around to this position here, and we'll see that shortly. The hacker moving out through to here, he's going to use a second short skill to come towards the middle objective, whereas the Crocman moves around to here and is going to be coming into base to base with this objective here. So the plan is to press the buttons, if possible, with, low PanO whip, and then set up positions where he'll be left with 6 orders only, and he'll have to spend as many as he can to get into base to base to press the buttons, and all the while being shot at by these annoying AROs. If he spends any orders killing me, well, then he may not have many left to press the buttons, and hopefully he'll flub some whip checks. So that is the hope. Elsewhere, there's an engineer moving around just to basically look through the view here and actually be an annoying body in the way in case he comes after this objective through here to the left-hand flank. So Crocman revealing on the right-hand side now and successfully pressing the button in the name of PanO and taking that one. So that's one objective up. And he's able to stand there. He's got his combi rifle. He's got his X-Visor. He's got some mines. He might be a useful ARO piece soon to come. The hacker moving into the middle of the table, successfully pressing the button despite whip 12. So a little bit of good luck now on the end game, securing 2 objectives. That means he's going to have to press one of them for potentially a draw if he gets his classified, or a loss if he doesn't get his classified, or pressing 2 of them for the win. So thinking that I've got a couple of orders left, the engineer moves through to the objective, just walking on through here. There is a flash pulse spot there to greet him, if you guys can see that. So this flash pulse spot is going to get a single flash at him as he uses a short skill to move here and then press the button from this position. And if he gets flashed, well, that's going to go away at the end of the turn, so I don't really mind. Since I've got one final order, I decided, well, I could use it to move around and go on suppression fire. But I find suppression fire to be an extraordinarily weak, ability in general. So the Crocman has placed their mine. The engineer cannot have another go at the objective. He passed the whip check, by the way. Sorry, he failed the whip check, by the way. So I would have liked to pick up 3 of them, but he couldn't really go for it because the flash pulse blinded him, so he can't actually do any more actions. So instead, we're just going to lay down a mine. The reason the mine is better than suppression fire is that if he's got a ninja and if he just shoots me and kills me straight away with a Guangxi chain rifle or something stupid like that, the mine's going to be more effective at killing a ninja that comes in later in the game. So that's the thought there. Alright, so he's got his last turn to go. These Guangxi's milling around and walking around here later on, and they're going to move towards this engineer who's actually prone behind the objective. I would have preferred him to be standing up to provide some arrows, but the failed flash pulse actually forced him to cover after failing a pitiful guts check, so he's cowering behind the objective in fear of the blinding light. The Guangxi, near to the Magister, moves around here, and the Magister goes for a dodge, even though he's trying to defend at this point. And the reason for that is because we've got a cutter providing an arrow, hitting on an 18, and providing an explosive round, and also a combi rifle from the Fusilier here. And that will hopefully kill the Guangxi, whereas the Magister just has to survive long enough to try and intercept his sensor bot or his ninja or whatever's going to be appearing. This is a coordinated order, though, so he's involving, I think, other things. Oh, no, hang on, he's not doing that at all. We've got the hack-taw over here who's able to potentially nuke the engineer or even go after the tag. So I may be commentating on this in the wrong order, guys, so please excuse me as usual, but the hack-taw here does actually come out of hidden deployment or marker state at some point in this turn to have a go at the tag, but the tag can sustain 2 more wounds before dying. Well, will only die after sustaining 2 more wounds, I should say. But he's got the advantage of cover, and there's a saturation zone, and it's a tag, right? So armor 11 in cover. So hack-taw not going to be very effective there. The Guangxi moving through is able to basically move past the Magister and detonate the mine. So that's what he wants to do with this Guangxi. But as you can see, I've got a lot of very effective arrows set up. So the Guangxi using his second short skill to move past into the mine. The Guangxi is absolutely obliterated by the arrows, but it does set off the mine, and he doesn't get any kills because he's gone move with the sequence. The other Guangxi's just cautiously moving around here, can't quite get line of sight to the tag just yet, but they will. So as they come through as part of the coordinated move, the tag has a go at one of them, and I think completely misses the arrow shot again, despite needing an 18. So they're in position to try and coordinate in against the engineer. The hack-taw now moves in to try and eliminate the tag. Now he's really hoping for crits here. He's hoping to get to roll, you know, quite spectacularly, but doesn't get any damage on the tag at all. And that's not surprising, given that with armor 11 and Tio Camo and, you know, a return shot also hitting on a 9 is going to be pretty good at blocking that, right? So he goes for a coordinated order, and at this point he's brought in the help of the sensor bot, which has moved around through to here. And he's coordinating with the sensor bot and the 2 Guangxi, so everybody's firing either a pistol or a combi rifle. The sensor bot does pick off a crit with the combi rifle to eliminate the engineer, who was going to die anyway. But sadly, his sensor bot has moved into range of my engineer. I mean, my hacker, who's able to just, you know, attack him with gotcha hacking program. And he actually does not have a ninja. He spent all of his points on the crane and the hack-taw and the pheasant and all of his cheerleaders and the remotes, and ended up just not having, and the assault hacker, mind you, an expensive model, and just didn't have any points left over for the ninja, which meant that my fears all along were unwarranted. And given that this was the only model he could have used to try and go for a draw or something like that, it basically fails to even reach the console at the end. So we end up with a situation where the Crocman has fired back at him with his combi rifle, destroying the sensor bot thanks to the help of Tio Camo and a really good shot there with his combi. And the game effectively ends at this point here, where his bot has failed to reach the objective. He doesn't even have any specialists left on the board at all. He can use his hack-taw to have a go at killing the tag. I mean, his lieutenant is the crane at this point. No, his lieutenant was the hack-taw, but he does actually get blown up by the cutter, finally getting a decent hit off and sealing the deal, as it were. So at the end of the game, I'm getting maximum points for the objectives in the middle, nothing for the consoles elsewhere, except an additional point for stopping my opponent from capturing mine, but he gets the same thing. and a bonus point for classified. He did not complete his classified at all. So a rocky start, some misplays by me, I think. I think this list is really cool. I love the fact that the PanO deployment zone is well defended by the Magister and the Krakot, and the surprise element of the Crocman and the Cutter. It's well backed up with the specialists being the obviously the Crocman and the Engineer, but also the Doctor and the Fusilier. Plenty of specialist action. Firepower, obviously it's got tons of it, with a Cutter and a Bulleteer in there. And it's even got a little bit of close combat in the form of the Magister and the Krakot. It can be quite a resilient list. It can be very good at AROs. And it's got Hemisphere in the form of the Nis. So if you can eliminate whatever's going to threaten your Nis when you move out with your Bulleteer or your Cutter, if you can find the thing that's going to cause the most problems for the Nis and destroy it, then that Nis can actually be very, very good, commanding piece for the rest of the game. So I hope to get some more games in with this particular PanO list. I think it's a really good one. I really like it. Maybe you guys will try it again sometime, and I'll post some more pics of my Cutter. Really impressed with them. Love the model, love the rules, love the paint job. And see you guys in the next one. Hope you enjoy this.